You saw the clip. What were you thinking and the rocket launched? Were you thinking this might not work? Were you sure it was going to work? What were your thoughts at that very moment? You remember, Buzz?
I hope we don't have a scrub. You know, to go out there and all that preparation, and then it starts counting, oh, we're going to have a scrub. Come back tomorrow.
So you were worried about that.
Well, yeah, you don't want to have to go through all of that
All right.
business again.
What were you thinking?
I wasn't thinking at all. My mind was in neutral. Didn't want to think about some of the things I saw, which were the launch escape tower about far as from me to you off to one side. Of course, when the vehicle lifted off, you see it on television. It looks so stately, and it looks so sure, so certain. But inside, you discover that because the 5 engines below you are how you keep it going up, and they do that by jiggling back and forth. So instead of this lovely stately ride, you're going like this over here. And right over here is the launch umbilical tower, and you think, oh God, we go over there to hit that damn thing. And
Did either of you think that there was a chance the mission would not succeed and you might not return to Earth? Did you worry about that at the time?
I don't know. Did we come up with some probability of, I don't know.
I've heard numbers, but I didn't make them up.
I was pretty confident. I hadn't had any big failures up to that point.
Okay.
Didn't even have to bail out of anything.
All right. So when the lunar module went down the moon
Oh, that's a little later.
later,
Yeah.
that part must have worried you a bit because the lunar module had never actually lifted off of the moon before, of course. So were you worried that the engine might not come back and work?
Well, now on the way down, you got to get
All right. When you go
down
all
first.
right, when you get down, were you worried about the
then you
landing?
worry about other things that happen.
Okay. When the landing going down, you almost ran out of fuel. Was that a problem?
It would be. It could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had like 18 seconds of fuel left or something. That wasn't a big problem.
There was a little light that came on, and when that came on, it was judged to be about 60 seconds. So I saw the light come on. Lights on.
And what happened?
And mission control said 60 seconds. 100 feet above. Let me not disturb Neil on my left. I want him to really concentrate on just what he's doing. But I'm getting a little concerned. But I'm calling out the numbers. So many feet forward, 3 down, drifting to the left a little bit. And I could see that he didn't want to go to this one particular spot. Now, there are about 4 things you can do. If you don't want to land here, you can land short, which means you got to pitch up and slow down. Then you lose sight of where you're going. That's not so good. Now, suppose you want to land over here. Now, the low gravity of the moon means you got to go like this, and then like that. And it's pretty disturbing to make that change. So the easiest thing to do is to just pitch forward, fly over, land on the other side. The only trouble is it uses 10, 20 seconds more to do that. But that's what we did. Nice and smooth.
All right. Now,
Touchdown, 10 seconds. No, 30 seconds. 10 feet above the ground. The engine could have quit. It had been a hard landing. But there's also an abort button, an abort stage. Abort the descent stage and the ascent stage liftoff. Abort stage, use stage, leave the descent stage behind.
the landing was smooth. When you hit, you barely touched.
Right, it was very smooth.
So you were then what was then called the loneliest man in the history of the world because you were by yourself going around the backside of the moon, and it was said at the time that you were worried that maybe you would have to return without the other two astronauts. Was that a real worry of yours, or that's what reporters said?
No, that's a real worry. I mean, I had a lot of real worries. I'm not sure what number on the list that one was, but it was,
Pretty high, I thought.
well, it was certainly the one with the worst implications that I could think of. You know, for one thing, I didn't worry about Neil landing. We had a lot of information about the area in which he was flying. I'd flown with Neil enough to know he was smooth as glass. He had wonderful judgment. I won't say that what he did was a piece of cake. It was difficult, but I knew that he could do it and would do it well. It was the coming back up that worried me.
Well, you were on the backside of the moon. You were out of touch with all communication. Nobody was with you. Was that a little lonely or scary or not?
No, it was very peaceful and restful. I enjoyed it. I mean, this was my home, Columbia. It was a big thing.
Well, half
It was
the
like
time-
from here to
half the
there.
time, he did have to talk to somebody.
All right, when you got,
He's on the Earth side half the time.
all right, when you landed, you were then supposed to go to sleep for 8 hours or something, but you guys decided to change it. Was that easy to decide to do that? To go
No,
right out of the
wait.
moon then?
Okay. It has an interesting aspect to clarify that, so
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Had we had some difficulty and we were kind of tired and we landed, there are two things you can do after you land. You can go outside or you can sleep. So how are you going to put those in the flight plan? Well, if you put in there, we'll go outside first, and then you get tired before you make the landing, and you land, and now you ask Mission Control, can you move that going out, please? We want to sleep first. That makes things worse. So we didn't want it to sound bad. So we put the sleep period first. Now, Mission Control knew, we knew, everybody else knew that if things went fine, we landed. One of the first things we would do is, we don't want to sleep, let's go outside. Okay, so that's what we did.
Okay, so when you, go ahead.
But then a little later, when we came back in, they're skipping over all the outside things. We came back in and we found something wrong. The circuit breaker was broken. Look along, it's the engine arm circuit breaker. That's the one that's pulled out until you get ready to land, then you push it in and you make a landing. When you land, you pull it out because the ascent engine has to have it in to come home. So now this is the circuit breaker that's broken off. It's a big panel and the rows and rows, and very fine. Philip said, we didn't have a screwdriver to get back there and figure out what the problem was. So we told Houston, we missed that great line. Houston, you got a problem. But anyway, so they said, well, we've got some guys down here who will look over what the situation may be, what we might possibly be able to do to get electrical power to the ascent stage. So when the computer says lift off, you can lift off, okay? Says we won't mess around with doing anything with the circuit breaker right now. We're gonna look at the systems. So we got these guys working on it. So you guys just go to sleep up there. We'll let you know in the morning. Now, I don't know what you think you'd have done if you were up there and you got a big problem and the guys back here say, just go to sleep up there, we'll fix the problem. I looked at Neil and I could see that it didn't really register on him either. So I didn't want to make a big thing about it, but when you play the tapes back, the radio tapes, and you'll see this going back, and then somebody says, you guys just go to sleep up there. We'll let you know in the morning whether we've solved the problem.
So you ultimately just used the pen that you had to fix it. Is that right?
Well, in the morning, they said, hey, we got bad news for you. We couldn't figure out how to fix it. So you're just going to have to try and push it in. And I looked at my little finger, and there's electricity behind there, you know?
Right.
But I got a ballpoint pen. No, that's not too good either, electricity there. Oh, yeah, I got a felt tip pen.
Okay.
Felt tip pen. So I used that 2 hours before launch. Pushed that in, mission control says, hey, we got power. We're go.
Worked.
Then we got to the countdown and
Worked out. So
worked out.
how many times were you circling the moon when they were down there? How many times did you go around?
Oh, no, there were times when I thought it was too many times.
Were you
I don't know,
talking
it might
more
have
to
been-
Houston or talking to them on the moon, or both?
Both. I talked to them. They talked their full head off, both of them.
Okay. So when you're going around the moon by yourself,
I'm sorry.
when you're going around the moon by yourself and you're sleeping,
Yes.
isn't it kind of nerve-wracking that you're the only person there and anything could go bad and somebody wake you up?
No, right after the flight, when we were put in quarantine, we were debriefed by the press through this pane of glass, and over I kept being asked, weren't you the loneliest person in the whole lonely universe, and you're in lonely orbit around the lonely moon? Wasn't you terribly lonely? And I said, dear God, no. I had a happy home. I had hot coffee. I had music if I wanted. Turned the thermostat to 72 degrees. It was a commodious, well laid out, lovely, beautiful little home, and I enjoyed it.
Did they leave a mess for you and you had to clean it up when they were not there, or they were pretty neat?
I don't talk about that.
Oh, you don't. So when you're going to go you're landing on the moon, you walk off. Did Neil say to you, guess what? I have a couple possible first words. What do you think of these? Or he just came up with that? Or did you know what he was going to say? And what did you say when you went on the moon?
Well, on the way there, it seems to me, I remember command module pilot asking Neil, hey, Neil, when you get there, have you thought about what you're going to say? Remember that?
No, I don't.
What did he say?
I don't know. When I get there, I'll think of something.
Well, that sounds like Neil.
No, it doesn't. This guy thinks ahead of time.
Did he tell you in advance what he was going to say? Did he tell you in advance?
Look, as much as I knew him, I knew that he's not going to get caught.
Okay. Now, when
He had something.
he went down on the moon, and then you went down on the moon afterwards,
Yeah.
and then there's a problem with the step. You had to bounce back up the step, and was that a problem?
Well, we're going to go out, run around, and we might get tired. So the jump up to the bottom step is a pretty good leap. Pete Conrad, the second mission that landed, as he jumped down on Apollo 12, he said, that may have been a small one for Neil, but it was a mighty big one for me.
So what was it like on the moon? Was it like when you had prepared? Was it bouncing around as you had prepared, or was it different than you had been prepared for?
It was much easier to move around than any of the training that we'd had. Now, the zero gravity airplane pulls up and then pitches over, and you float. Or you can adjust it for 1/6 gravity. But you only get about 30, 40 seconds of that. And it's not really that high fidelity. Now we can put ropes around you and haul up part of your weight, and then you bounce around. And that's not too good a simulator either.
So when you're on the moon, you got a call from President Nixon. Did you say, I don't really need a call from President Nixon right now, or were you anticipating that call? Did that interfere with what you were doing or not?
Well, usually Neil kept us all informed as to what was going to happen. I did not expect that the president was going to call us all the way up there.
Okay. All right, so when you get back into
We
the,
immediately started attention
okay,
on one side of the flag.
the lunar module, when you're going back, you're in the lunar module, you're going to ascend up to the command module. That was what many engineers thought was the trickiest and most difficult part because there wasn't a lot of practice in that landing off of something like the moon, taking off the moon. Were you worried about that?
No. Lunar Orbit Rendezvous. That was John Hubolt who decided
Okay.
that that was a much better way. Other people didn't think that was, they much preferred a bigger rocket.
Okay. So the ascent works, and how hard is it to hook up with them and get the two of you together again? Was that a complicated mission to get the two of you together?
I wasn't too concerned about their descent and landing. I thought Neil would handle it very well with Buzz's help. And what worried me was the ascent. We were great believers in redundancy. For every primary machine, we tended to have a backup. In the case of the Eagle, the lunar module, it was not possible to do that. It had one dinky little engine bell that had to function perfectly, or you had two dead men on your hands. And that worried me considerably, had been worrying me for a number of months.
Are you over it now?
Just barely. Just barely. Finally connected, did you give a big sigh of relief? You finally said the hardest part of the mission's over, going back to the Earth is easy.
Well, I wouldn't say that it was easy, but yes, once we got the two vehicles back together again and we ignited my engine and headed on out with enough velocity to get us on the way home,
All right, did you worry that you might not land on Earth at the appropriate way? You would come down too fast or not the right angle? Did you ever worry about that?
I don't think you could miss. You're coming back to Earth.
Okay, but sometimes you could go too fast or...
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, well, of all the things that you mentioned, the angle was the one that we worried about primarily. We were about 250,000 miles away from Earth, and the corridor of success that we had to stay within was 40 miles high. 40 miles is pretty high down here looking up, but if you're 250,000 miles away, that's less than a sliver,
Okay.
and we had to be right on center line, right on track to come into that.
All right, so looking back after 50 years, what would you say is the most significant thing that happened as a result of your going to the moon? What would you say, how do you think humanity has benefited from what you did 50 years ago?
We came back.
Okay. And
No, right?
over the last...
If we had not come back, that would have been a big problem.
Did you ever read the statement that President Nixon had prepared in case you didn't come back?
The public relations guy, I forget his name, he prepared that.
Bill Sapphire, I think.
That's
wrote it.
right, yeah.
So, okay, so now that you've done this 50 years ago, any regrets about what you did 50 years ago? That would you have done anything differently in the light of hindsight?
When a lot of things fall your way, why would you begin to question?
Okay.
Everything
No,
was there.
Okay, and for you, Buzz, was it like a religious experience walking on the moon?
Spiritual, not particularly religious. It was unusual.
Okay,
It was out of this world.
okay, I got it. One of the things that you did afterwards is this museum, as Ellen pointed out, was opened by you. You were the first director. So now that after this museum opened, what would you have done different? Anything different about this museum? Are you happy with what you created for only $40 million. I should point out, it only cost $40 million to build this in 1976. Now it costs $900 million. So how did you save that much money in building it?
I guess we didn't go for the most expensive marble. We went for, at the time, what was considered to be perfectly good, high grade, is similar to what the National Gallery of Art across the mall used. But it apparently has not weathered 50 years very well. It has to all be replaced.
Well, as I've said, it was built to GSA specs. It wasn't your fault. GSA specs, the pyramids were not built to GSA specs. They've lasted several thousand years, but these were built to GSA specs. So what would you like to do, if you could advise the president? I know you saw the president today. If the president said to you, what should I do? Should I go to the moon? Should I go to Mars? Should I go to the moon and the Mars? What would you like the United States space program to do next? Right to Mars, moon and Mars, neither?
I think it'd be nice if we could launch an American back into space. It's been a while.
Okay. And what would you like?
For starters.
All right.
For starters.
What would you like to see?
When the president asked me, I said Mars Direct. If you understand that, Mars Direct.
Skip moon.
I would maybe elaborate a little bit and say I'd call it the John F. Kennedy Mars Direct Express, because President Kennedy had sent us on our way to the moon, and he did it with a statement that was a masterpiece of brevity. It was wonderful. He said, have man on the moon, bring him back to Earth by the end of the decade, and told us exactly what to do and when to do it. And we just had to fill in the how to do it. And but that was good. We, as the years counted down to the end of the decade, we quoted the president, I don't know, hundreds of times. Hey, you better get this going. You're behind on this, the president said. We got so much to the end of the decade. That was a wonderful assist.
In the 50 years you've been back, what's the most frequent question you get asked? How do you go to the bathroom? How do you eat? How do you sleep? Do you drink Tang? What were the questions that you...
I've never been asked how you go to the bathroom in space, but thank you, David, for asking me.
You never heard that question?
This is really something I wanted.
You never heard that one before, right?
Yes, I wanted to answer.
Right.
And the answer is carefully.
Carefully. Okay. Well, and you would agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, on behalf of all Americans and all people who live on the face of the earth, thank you very much for what you've done for humanity and for our country. Thank you.
Thank you.